And then he says in verse 3 something is very, very intolerant. For the customs of the peoples are delusion. It's a delusion. And when you say somebody is deluded and they're not deluded, that's being mean, right? But let's face it. Let's face it. The stars don't control you. And if you think they do, you're wrong. And if you are you're absolutely convinced that because, the Big Dipper says so, you have to marry somebody whose first name starts with a T, you're deluded. That's a delusion. It's not true, right? And it's funny to us today, but when everyone believes that way, to call it a delusion, it's like, that's really making a claim, isn't it? That's really making a statement. And that's what God's doing here. But you know what? I've just kind of discovered this. Like, so many people, they say lying's okay. Among the nations, among this nation, they say lying's okay because, if nobody gets hurt, what's the big deal? Or they'll say, stealing's all right so long as do you really need it? If you really need it, then it's okay to steal. And, marijuana, it's come on, God made it, right? It's just, it's not a hard drug. They use it for medicine, right? Or they say, if it's all right to get drunk, so long as you're with people, so long as you're having fun, so long as you're either celebrating something that was really great or really sad about something bad that happened, or if it's Friday, or if it's 6 o'clock and happy hour, and then it's okay to get drunk. But like getting drunk on your own, obviously that's no good, right? So what I'm saying to you is that the nations are still deluded. It's been 2,500 years since Jeremiah wrote these words, and we're still deluded, the nations. And how are we going to get out of the delusion? Well, that's why we have the Scriptures, because the Scriptures are like the North Star. It never moves, right? It's like a compass that keeps us on course. It's like we're all in a river, and in a river, it's flowing downstream, and you don't realize it. You know what I mean? If you're just on like a lazy river. You ever been on a lazy river, anybody? And you just kind of float around and you don't even realize what's happening, right? But this river has a waterfall at the end, a drop-off, and you're going to perish, right? And by doing nothing, you're just going to go down the river with the culture, with what they tell you, with what is accepted, even common sense, right? Common sense changes every 50 years. You know what I mean? It's just the thing that everybody agrees is the normal thing to do, right? I was thinking about this. Have you ever been to a beach and you go out and you're playing around on the waves, like on a boogie board or a surfboard, or maybe you're just diving in and out of the waves, riding the waves, and you're out there, you're having a great time with a couple of friends, and you're enjoying yourself. No sharks today. It's a good day. And like a half an hour goes by, and then you look back on the beach, and you don't recognize any of those people or towels or umbrellas, and you're like, where am I, right? Because what you didn't realize is the whole time the beach was kind of pushing you this, or the water was pushing you this way, and the beach was staying still, right? And so you get out, and then you have to walk like 2 miles back to your people, right? That's the way this stuff works. That's the way the culture works. That's the way it was in Jeremiah's time. That's the way it is today. We don't realize it because the cultural currents are always at work. And it takes work. Have you ever tried to actually stay in place the whole time when you're playing around on the waves? Right? You're like always constantly swimming against it. You never have any fun because you're so obsessed with staying within view of the towel that contains your people or your stuff. Right? Another side point I'd like to make is that truth matters. And there is a cultural current in our time that devalues truth, saying that being nice is all that matters. Have you come across that? I'm sure there were many nice idol worshipers, but God was still offended at such behavior, and we can see it over and over in the Scriptures. Truth matters. Love matters. So let's do both, right? I mean, why should we just be like, oh, well, we're just the truth church, or we're just a love church? Let's do both. Let's love in spirit and in truth, you know? And not just get swept down the current with the culture. You know, the only way that I know how to be aware of what our blind spots are is to read this book. That's the only way I know how to do it. You can talk to other people, but they might be wrong too. You know what I mean? I think we can help each other, but The book is what we got to read in order to get insight here and not just settle into the mold like Jell-O.